We've already found you the perfect condo. 2 bedrooms. Much more manageable than this monstrosity. My mother-in-law announced as she led a realtor through my dining room while I was still carving the turkey, the woman's measuring tape already stretched across my grandmother's mahogany table. The 22 family members I'd invited for Thanksgiving dinner sat frozen, forks halfway to their mouths. As Patricia continued, Brenda has buyers ready to make an offer today. Cash, as is, quick close before the baby arrives. The question wasn't how she'd found out I was pregnant. I'd planned to announce it over dessert. But how she discovered the financial bombs that were about to detonate in her son's carefully constructed life. Mom, what are you doing? Kevin finally spoke, his voice tight with barely controlled panic. He set down his wine glass with shaking hands, the red liquid sloshing dangerously close to my grandmother's lace tablecloth. Patricia beamed at the table like she'd just presented us with a winning lottery ticket. Taking initiative. You two are clearly overwhelmed with this place, and with a baby coming, you need to be practical. Brenda specializes in distressed sales. Distressed sales? I kept my voice pleasant, though my hand tightened on the carving knife. How interesting. Brenda, what makes you think our home is distressed? Brenda, a polished woman in her 50s with perfectly highlighted hair, had the grace to look uncomfortable. Well, Mrs. Morrison indicated there were some financial pressures. Patricia, I corrected. Her name is Patricia. I'm Mrs. Morrison, and this is my house. Our house, Kevin interjected quickly. No, honey. I set down the carving knife with deliberate care. My house. Remember? You were very clear about keeping assets separate when we married. Modern arrangements for modern couples, you said. My sister Lauren coughed into her napkin, trying to hide a smirk. She'd warned me about Kevin's insistence on financial independence when we'd gotten engaged 5 years ago. I'd thought it was progressive. Turned out it was prophetic. Regardless of whose name is on the deed, Patricia waved dismissively. You can't possibly manage this place with a baby. 5 bedrooms, 3 floors, that ridiculous pool. The pool I had installed last year, I interrupted. With the infinity edge you said was too show-offy for people like us. Exactly my point. Wasteful spending when you should be preparing for the future. Patricia turned to Brenda. Show them the listing for the condo. It's in a very appropriate neighborhood. Brenda fumbled with her tablet, clearly wishing she were anywhere else. The rest of the family watched like it was dinner theater, my Aunt Martha actually pausing mid-chew to observe better. Before Brenda shows us anything, I said, walking around the table to face them directly, perhaps we should discuss why you think we need to downsize. Kevin, would you like to share, or should I? Kevin's brother Jason shifted nervously. Maybe this isn't the time. Oh, I think it's the perfect time. I smiled at him. After all, Patricia brought a realtor to Thanksgiving dinner. We're clearly past social niceties. You're being dramatic, Patricia sniffed. I'm trying to help. This house is too much for Kevin to maintain on his salary. What salary? The words slipped out before I could stop them. The room went silent except for the sound of my cousin's baby gurgling in her high chair. I continued, meeting Kevin's panicked eyes. The salary from the job he lost 3 months ago? Or the new position he's been pretending to go to every morning while actually sitting in Starbucks applying for unemployment? Margot. Kevin stood so fast his chair scraped against the hardwood. This isn't. Isn't what? Isn't the time? When is the time, Kevin? When the credit cards are maxed? Oh wait, they already are. When the car gets repossessed? That's scheduled for next week. I turned to Brenda. Did Patricia mention that when she asked you to come today? Brenda was backing toward the door. I think there's been a misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, Patricia insisted, grabbing Brenda's arm. My son is having temporary setbacks. Once they sell this albatross, they'll be fine. Temporary setbacks, I repeated. Is that what we're calling embezzlement now? The word dropped like a bomb. My father nearly choked on his turkey. Lauren's eyes went wide. Even Patricia's perfectly composed face cracked. You said you wouldn't tell anyone, Kevin whispered. You said you'd tell your parents before the lawyers did. I pulled out my phone. But since you didn't, let me catch everyone up. Kevin borrowed $47,000 from his company's client accounts. He thought he could replace it before anyone noticed. It was an investment opportunity, Kevin protested. It was supposed to triple. Cryptocurrency? I supplied helpfully. He invested client funds in cryptocurrency, which crashed. Along with our marriage, coincidentally. This is family business. Patricia shrieked. Not dinner conversation. You brought a realtor to Thanksgiving, Patricia. You made it dinner conversation. I turned to Brenda, who looked like she wanted to dissolve into the floor. Did she also mention she co-signed Kevin's loans? The ones he took out to cover the theft before the audit found it anyway. Brenda yanked her arm free from Patricia's grip. I need to go. I can't be involved in fraud, I suggested. Smart choice. Though for what it's worth, the house isn't part of any criminal proceedings. It's in my name. Bought with my inheritance before I ever met Kevin. Free and clear. You're lying. Patricia spat. Kevin told me you were broke when he met you. A teacher with student loans. A teacher whose grandfather invented a small medical device that's in every emergency room in America. I smiled at Kevin's stunned face. You never asked where the house money came from, honey. Just assumed your salary was carrying us. But you let me pay for things, he said weakly. Your half of utilities and groceries? Yes. While I paid the property taxes, insurance, maintenance, and that small matter of the mortgage-free deed. I turned back to our audience. Kevin was very proud of providing for us. I didn't have the heart to tell him his contribution covered about 10% of our actual expenses. This is ridiculous, Patricia rallied. Even if what you're saying is true, which I doubt, you can't raise a baby alone in this house. Why not? I've been essentially alone in it for 5 years. I walked back to my place at the head of the table. Kevin, tell them about your business trips. The ones to Atlantic City, Vegas, that underground poker game in Chinatown. Jason groaned. Kev, tell me you didn't. It's not gambling when you're good at it. Kevin exploded. I had a system. The system of losing everything repeatedly. I pulled out a folder I'd hidden under my chair. Brenda, since you're here, maybe you can help me understand these receipts. Casino charges on credit cards I didn't know existed. Cash advances. Payday loans. Stop it, Patricia commanded. Just stop. You're humiliating him. I'm humiliating him? I laughed, actually laughed. He brought me a onesie from Daddy's little gambling chip from Caesar's Palace. I'm 8 months pregnant, and he brought me baby clothes from a casino where he lost our emergency fund. You're pregnant? My Aunt Martha finally spoke. How far along? 32 weeks. I placed my hand on my belly, feeling the baby move. We were going to announce it today. Surprise. This changes everything, Patricia said triumphantly. You need Kevin. A baby needs its father. Does it need a father who's facing federal charges? I asked quietly. He'll likely spend the next 3 to 5 years in prison. Whose assets will be seized to pay restitution? Prison. Brenda squeaked, edging closer to the door. Federal charges for wire fraud. Turns out moving money between accounts to hide theft is frowned upon. I looked at Patricia. Your lawyer didn't explain that when you co-signed? Patricia's face had gone from red to white. Richard said it was handled. That the company wouldn't press charges if we paid it back. Richard, your divorce attorney who lost his license 2 years ago. That Richard? I shook my head. Patricia, they're pressing charges. The FBI raided Kevin's office last week. He's out on bail. You knew? Kevin accused. You knew and didn't warn me? Warn you? I hired you a real lawyer. The one you refused to meet with because Richard had it handled. I turned to the rest of the family. I'm sorry. This isn't how I wanted today to go. But apparently, we're doing full disclosure over turkey. The baby, Patricia said desperately. You can't raise a baby alone. You need help. Family support. You mean your help? I laughed again. The woman who told me I was a gold digger at my own wedding. Who insisted on a paternity test when I announced the pregnancy. Who brought a realtor to Thanksgiving to force me out of my own home. I was protecting my son. From what? From the woman who's been paying his debts, hiring his lawyers, and keeping a roof over his head while he gambled away money that wasn't his. I stood, my back aching from the pregnancy and stress. No, Patricia. I don't need that kind of help. You'll be begging for help when you're alone with a screaming baby, she sneered. When you realize what you've thrown away. Thrown away? I pulled out another paper. This is a separation agreement. I filed it the day after the FBI raid. Kevin's been served. He just hasn't told you. Kevin slumped in his chair. Margaret, please. You stole $47,000. You gambled away our savings. You lied to me every single day for months. My voice cracked slightly. And you were going to let your mother sell my house to pay for your crimes. I didn't know she was bringing a realtor. But you knew she was planning something. You always know when Patricia's planning something. I looked around the table at our families, his looking shocked, mine looking grimly unsurprised. That's how it works. Patricia schemes, Kevin enables, and everyone else deals with the fallout. How dare you? Patricia started. How dare I what? Tell the truth? Refuse to be bullied? Keep my own house? I walked to where Brenda stood by the door. I'm sorry you were dragged into this. Patricia has a tendency to involve innocent people in her schemes. Brenda nodded rapidly. I should go. This is clearly a family matter. Wait, I said. Can I ask you something? Professional to professional. She paused cautiously. All right. What's the market value on a house like this? Ballpark? Her eyes swept the room, the original hardwood, the crown molding, the wall of windows overlooking the pool. In this neighborhood, with these finishes, easily $2 million, maybe 2.5. Hear that, Patricia? I turned back to my mother-in-law. $2 million you tried to steal from me. To pay for your son's crimes. It's not stealing when it's family. Patricia shrieked. It is when the family member says no. I walked back to the table, picking up the carving knife. Now, would anyone like more turkey? I'd hate for the food to go to waste. You can't just continue dinner like nothing happened, Patricia protested. Watch me. I carved another slice of turkey with steady hands. Aunt Martha, your plate looks empty. Lauren, pass the stuffing. Slowly, awkwardly, people began to eat again. Brenda slipped out quietly. Patricia stood frozen, apparently unable to process that her plan had failed. Sit down, Mom, Jason finally said. You're making it worse. Worse? How could it be worse? She's destroying our family. No, Kevin said quietly, finally finding his voice. I destroyed our family. Margaret's just refusing to go down with me. It was the first honest thing he'd said in months. But the baby, Patricia tried one more time. We'll be fine, I interrupted. I've managed to prepare for a child while dealing with FBI agents, forensic accountants, and a criminal defense attorney. I think I can handle motherhood. You'll need money. I have money. My money. From my job, my investments, my house that's not being sold. I looked at Kevin. Though if you want to discuss child support from prison, I'm sure we can work something out. He flinched. Jason put a hand on his shoulder. This isn't over, Patricia warned, but her voice had lost its power. Yes, it is. I sat back down, exhausted but oddly relieved. It's been over since the moment Kevin decided stealing was easier than talking to me about his debts. Since you decided my house was your emergency fund. Since everyone at this table decided I was too stupid to notice. We didn't think you were stupid, Kevin protested. No. Then what did you think? That I wouldn't check our accounts. Wouldn't notice the missing money, the strange charges, the way you jumped every time the phone rang. I shook my head. You thought I loved you too much to see clearly, and for a while, you were right. The baby kicked hard, reminding me why I'd finally stopped pretending everything was fine. Margot, my mother spoke for the first time. Are you all right? Really all right? I met her concerned eyes. I will be. The house is mine. The baby's healthy, and I've got a good lawyer. Everything else is just details. Details like your husband going to prison. Patricia spat. Ex-husband, once the divorce is final. And yes, those kinds of details. I rubbed my belly as the baby kicked again. But I've got bigger things to worry about. Like whether this little one will inherit Kimon's ability to lie with a straight face. That's not genetic, Lauren said, trying to lighten the mood. Let's hope not. I managed a small smile. Though if it is, at least I'll be prepared this time. The rest of dinner passed in strained conversation. Patricia didn't eat another bite, just sat there radiating fury and disbelief. Kevin pushed food around his plate like a child. The rest of the family tried to pretend this was a normal Thanksgiving, discussing football and Black Friday plans. As people began to leave, they hugged me extra tight, whispered words of support, pressed envelopes into my hand that I knew contained checks I'd never cashed but appreciated anyway. Patricia was the last to go, Kevin trailing behind her like always. This isn't over, she repeated at the door. Yes, it is, I said firmly. Kevin's going to prison. The house stays mine. The baby will be raised without your interference. It's over, Patricia. We'll see about that. She swept out, not waiting for Kevin. He lingered on the doorstep. Margot. Don't. I held up my hand. Whatever you're about to say, just don't. Save it for your lawyer. I did love you, he said quietly. In my way. Your way involved stealing, lying, and trying to sell my house. I started to close the door. Your way wasn't enough. After they left, I stood in my dining room, surveying the damage. Plates half full of cold food. Patricia's chair knocked askew. The tablet Brenda had forgotten in her haste to escape. My sister appeared in the doorway. Want help cleaning up? No. I picked up a plate, then set it back down. Actually, yes. But first. I walked to the window that overlooked the driveway, watching Patricia's Mercedes disappear into the night. The house felt lighter already, like it could finally breathe. First? Lauren prompted. First, I want to sit by my ridiculous pool and feel grateful that I saw this coming. I headed for the back door. The dishes can wait. We sat by the infinity edge Patricia had hated, watching the lights of the city below. The baby settled, finally calm after the dinnertime drama. You knew about the embezzlement, Lauren said. It wasn't a question. For 2 months, my financial advisor noticed the strange activity. I leaned back in the lounger. I've been preparing ever since. The FBI came to me first. I cooperated fully. I smiled grimly. Turns out victim spouses get certain protections in fraud cases. And the house was never in danger. But I wanted to see how far they'd go. I touched my belly. Needed to know before the baby came. Lauren whistled low, and Patricia delivered. She always does. I closed my eyes. Kevin I might have forgiven, eventually. The gambling, even the theft. Addiction makes people do terrible things. But bringing his mother here to steal my house while pregnant with his child. Unforgivable. Completely. I opened my eyes. Did you see Brenda's face when I mentioned the FBI? Lauren laughed. I thought she was going to faint. Patricia probably told her it was a simple family sale. Patricia probably believed it herself. In her world, what's mine is Kevin's. And what's Kevin's is hers. I stood carefully. Come on. Let's clean up. I want my house back to normal. We worked in comfortable silence, erasing the evidence of the day's drama. By the time we finished, you'd never know a realtor had measured my dining room or that my mother-in-law had tried to steal my home. The turkey carcass went in the fridge, soup for later, when the memories weren't so fresh. The good china back in the cabinet my grandmother had left me, along with the house Patricia couldn't touch. You going to be okay? Lauren asked as she gathered her things. Better than okay. I walked her to the door. For the first time in months, I know exactly where I stand. Alone, but secure. Not alone, she corrected. You've got family. The kind that doesn't bring realtors to dinner. After she left, I did one final circuit at my house, checking locks, turning off lights, making sure everything was as it should be. In the nursery I decorated myself. Without Patricia's input or Kevin's indifference, I sat in the rocking chair my mother had used with me. Just you and me, little one, I whispered. But I promise you this, our house will always be our sanctuary. No one will ever make us feel unwelcome in our own home. The baby kicked in response, and I took it as agreement. Downstairs, my phone buzzed. Kevin, probably, or Patricia with more threats. I ignored it. Tomorrow would bring lawyers and logistics and the harsh reality of single motherhood. But tonight, in my house that no realtor would measure, I was exactly where I belonged.